Fit for Life Radio, episode number 179. Your hosts, Gary here.
With the most, Will.
And Will. And we have a special guest today, a client of ours at Coastal Strength and Fitness, Miss Lindsay Spires.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
It's going to be a good one.
I know. We've been meaning to get more clients on to share their stories, and the hard part's logistics, but luckily you found some time in your schedule.
Absolutely.
And what we want to talk about and share with everyone is just kind of, general stuff. You know, a lot of times, we have pro athletes like Ben Lingle on last week, pro Frisbee golfer throwers.
Oh, man.
But even more professional is Lindsay. She has been coming to the gym, a Coastal Strength and Fitness, our training gym.
I just celebrated my 4-year gymversary.
4 years.
4 years.
Yeah.
Jesus.
And even more specifically, what brought you to our attention was Kristen pointed out, we started that frequent sweater club.
Mm-hmm.
So at the gym, there's a board every month for everyone that makes it 12 times in the month or more. So that's an average of 3 times a week. Gets on the frequent sweater board. And Lindsay has been on there, I think, basically every time since we had it, which is now like 2 years, so 24 months straight.
Yep.
Which then, that's awesome. And I think we have a handful of others, but
yeah,
with you, and this is some of the stuff we'll dive into, I know, one, you're a mom.
Yes.
You also work.
Mm-hmm.
And number 3, you don't live that close to the gym either.
I do not. I live in the bustling city of Carrollton.
Yeah, so Carrollton. So that's like past Smithfield, right?
Yeah, so when you go across the James River Bridge, you can keep going straight, or you can bear off to the right. That'll take you into the town of Smithfield, but I live in Carrollton. So it's probably about 5 miles off the James River Bridge. But I work in Hampton, so that's what helped me get into the gym where you guys are.
Yeah, it's like over.
So it makes sense to hit it
exactly
on the way home or whatever. Yeah.
But even then, and I've been there. I had, at one point, I lived in Newport News, and I was working out in Great Bridge, Chesapeake. Mm-hmm. And man, when you get off work, and especially, you've been there for 8-9 hours, you want to go home, right? It's
Absolutely.
very easy. So even if now the gym is kind of closer there, the fact that your home's further away, you have that commute, it's easy to talk yourself out of it. What I'm interested in is, and then with that again, then you've been so consistent. So obviously you have valued it, you've prioritized it. What has it always been like that for you before Coastal? Where was your fitness? Like, were you working out at a gym or doing things on your own? Or just kind of, I'm interested in that.
So I joined Coastal, like I said, about 4 years ago, and that was just because I had a coworker who was a member, and she lived over here in Newport News. She raved about the gym, the workouts were planned, and all that kind of stuff. And prior to coming, I had kind of jumped around a little bit. I'd done, like you said, the big box gyms, and that was great, but I didn't really have anybody that I would go with. It wasn't like I had a workout buddy and we went and we did it all the time, and I didn't have anybody making the workouts for me either. So combine those kind of things, and I was not very consistent at all with that. And when she recommended this, I just thought, okay, well, you know what? It's not too far from my work. She goes, I'm gonna give it a shot.
Yeah.
So I joined in June of 2019, and at the time we didn't really have the frequent sweater board or anything, so it was kind of just like coming with a friend and that kind of thing. But I didn't always hit the 12 times. Yep. Then fast forward, we went through COVID, so we weren't even really actually actively going to the gym. We were doing the workouts at home and whatnot.
Yeah, we had to close for 2 months.
Yeah.
It's
a long 2 months.
It was a long 2 months. I did, the workouts at home, and then coming back, then you started coming, a couple times a week. But I still wouldn't always hit the 12. And into 2021, then I knew that I was close to hitting the 250. So I prioritized, okay, if
that was 250 total visits, right?
Correct. So I was like, okay, if I come 12 times a month, every month, for the last 4 months of the year, I'm going to hit it. That's my goal. I'm gonna hit it.
That little carrot.
I know.
That
Yes.
dangling carrot got you.
Yes, yeah, the T-shirt, man.
There you
It's all
go.
about the T-shirt.
It's so funny. It's funny that little stuff like the board
Yeah.
and the T-shirt, how it does leverage people.
It does entice you.
You know, and it makes you realize sometimes. I don't want to like the word silly can be meant to be taken a lot of ways, but it's funny. Kind of like find some things that could seem like silly things to motivate you, and they can really leverage you.
They
forward,
matter.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So living in Carrollton, I know that they're over there. There's just like a 24-hour gym, right?
There
Anytime
is.
Fitness.
There is Anytime
Yeah.
Fitness that is, oh gosh, that's probably like 5 minutes from my house.
Mm-hmm.
But again, like I would have to come up with the workouts myself.
Yeah.
I don't know that they would always be as beneficial as you guys have already created them.
Yeah.
And like I don't have to focus on like, well, today's leg day or, today's this. They're just
Yeah.
already created. And the combination that you create works. So I just enjoy that.
Is that the only gym over there?
There's
Yeah.
a Planet Fitness now. Is there a Planet
Moo.
Fitness like out in
Moving
Smithfield?
on up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think there is.
Yeah.
I think they're
Yeah.
getting big time over there.
It's funny, like, but a lot of people that live in like a smaller town
Yeah.
like that versus like Newport News or Norfolk or something
Yeah.
like that, there's not a lot of options.
Yeah, well, actually, that's now where Planet Fitness, because they kind of opened in cities, like it's called B markets, kind of like not like big cities, but kind of
Not Miami,
But then they realized the rural areas had nothing, and once they figured out their business, they started popping open in all the rural areas. And I actually know the owner of the Anytime Fitness out in Carrollton. He owns 3 of them, like one in Carrollton, York County, and Smith and Hampton. And yeah, before the Planet Fitness, it was pretty straightforward for him, and the Planet Fitness, changed things
yeah,
a
that
lot.
takes a
But
chunk out of you.
again, then where most people though go to the gyms like that and end up not using them, so then that's where you have training gyms like us, and there's a bunch of franchises now, and that extra accountability and really helps, and having that social element and aspect. And then just in general too, like now where do you find kind of in your life, how do you like having that place? It's like, so you have home, you have work, and then you have the gym, kind of to where you can go. That's what you do. There's no distraction. There's
Right.
nothing else to do. How's that kind of settled into,
It's kind of just like a routine. So I will I know that I have to do 12, and I know that like in some way, shape, or form for the month, that's how you have to do it. So maybe it means that I have to come in the morning. Most of the time I go in the afternoon. So it really is just a routine of like I get up, I go to work, then I go to the gym, and then I come home. And that's just the routine that it is. Some days if I go in the morning, then the routine is off a little bit, but I do come in the morning sometimes and then go to work.
Yeah.
But it's kind of just the routine. When I am not on a day when I would not go to the gym in the afternoon, it's weird to like just leave work and come home. It's like,
yeah.
What am I supposed to do at this time?
right, exactly. So it's just the routine for me. That's just what I do.
Yeah, she's very extremely routine. It's cool.
Yeah.
And one thing I think is cool to point out is, for one, we're celebrating you coming 3 times a week and all that, but also you haven't always been able to do that. And I think that's one thing for people to realize. Like, in the beginning, you're coming when you can, maybe not always 3 times a week, maybe on average 2 times a week. If you were like, oh, I can't make it as many as I want, I might as well go none, you never get to that point where you really establish a perfect routine for yourself. And it's okay to do a little, because that gets you closer to where
it gets you in the
you
door.
want to be. Yeah.
It's
So
progress.
because we see so many people who are like, if I can't do X, then I'm just not going to bother.
Yeah, I've never really thought about it in those terms. I've never been before I was able to hit 12 every time. Then it was kind of just like a come when you can.
Yeah.
If I can get in 2 days a week, that's good. Because previous to that, I wasn't doing anything. So if I can just get in a little bit, that's better than where I was.
Yep. And that's a good mindset to have.
I was just building and building and building. But before I really started, I know like the month prior to hitting the 12 every time, I remember checking, and it was like I had gotten only 11. I'm like, man, like, come on. Like, I know there was one day that I could have gone, and I just didn't go. And so I'm like, no, I'm not going to let that happen. I really got to get 12, however you can get it. And I mean, sometimes it's not. There might be a week where I can go like on a Monday, but then I can't go the rest of the week, and then I might have to jam into on Saturday or something like that. But I try to make it, work for the whole thing. And I kind of try to check myself a little bit, like in the middle of the month. Okay, like we're at, June 15th. Have I come about 5 times? Because if you haven't come about half of what you need, you're really going to struggle the last 2 weeks.
Yeah.
You're going to be sore.
Yeah. I remember you had one of those weeks where it was like, this is it.
I had one of those weeks back in April.
And I told you, you got to take your days up and down a little bit so you're not
right. Because by
killing
the end
yourself.
of the week, at the end of the week, you might be on the struggle bus.
Yeah. And then that speaks to, like, not every week's going to be perfect. And it's more the consistency over time that plays into. And that, not every week you're going to get exactly 3 days, But as long as you're shooting for that, and, hey, that's why we do 12 a month. Because it does allow for a lot of variation. And then you're still keeping that habit alive, even if you had to, cobble it together a little bit compared to what your normal routine is. Because that allows you to keep your momentum. As is noted by, 24 months?
Yeah, it's something like that.
And you notice how you kind of plan, you're thinking ahead. That's key,
I do. I try to think about, like, okay, in my mind, I'm a weekly planner. So I think, like, okay, well, my goal is, like, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. But if Monday doesn't work, then I got to do, like, Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday or something. There's always kind of, like, that backup plan of, like, if something happens on this day, no worries, we'll get it in that day. But that could even be said for if you can't make it 3 times a week. Can you make it the 2, If something doesn't happen, you're planning Tuesday, Thursday, you can't go Tuesday, can you do a Thursday, Friday or something to get 2 in for the week?
Yeah.
So I try to have that backup plan there, and if this doesn't work, then let's try this for the next week or something like that.
And that's actually, a couple years ago, we switched to the more full body workouts so that we could, because ultimately we want people to be able to come. If you can come 2 days a week, that's great. Like you're going to get a lot of the main benefits, but that way now there's like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday. If you could only come Monday or Wednesday, or then you can make it like Wednesday and Friday, you're going to get everything that you need.
Right.
Versus if it's a kind of split up, you could miss leg day. And if you don't make it that day, you get no leg stuff.
Yep, that's
for the
it.
rest
The
of
whole
the week,
week or
right?
something.
That was like the best change.
Yeah,
ever
we
made.
realized it was a great setup if you're someone who can come X amount of times every single time in this perfect kind of schedule.
Yeah,
it was
on
almost
these set
more like
days.
making it for like this
An ideal person.
Yeah,
right?
the benefit
Just
of people
one
who
person.
come 5 days a week, right? Whereas we switched it, and now people are busier. They might not be able to make it a certain day, and so that's cool to hear too. Because then someone in your situation, which is most of our clients, it works out in your benefit.
Yeah, like you're still getting your minimum in, and it's cool.
Right,
Yeah.
and I really like that Thursdays, because Thursdays
Yeah,
used to not
so
be...
Thursday's like a makeup day,
right.
open
Thursdays
gym,
used to be more like a Tuesday, where there was still like the set
cardio circuits.
right,
yeah.
and like slow and whatnot. But I like the fact that it's an open gym. So if you miss, you're somebody who really likes the Monday, Wednesday.
Yeah, or you missed a certain exercise we did.
Then you can tailor that to whatever you want to do, and you're still getting your time in there,
your
but
strength
maybe you're
work in
making up something that you weren't able to do.
Yeah, it works
the
good.
other day.
And then if it is someone who comes all the time, ideally you don't want to work out 5 days in a row at a certain intensity, so then they can just take it as they like to come to the gym, like you said, because it's habit, but then they can do some light cardio or whatever.
Right,
so,
tailor it to whatever it is that you might be working on something.
Yeah, it works in that regard.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of that.
So one thing I want to touch on is now, and a lot of times, and this is understandable, people will, we have our obstacles and roadblocks, and it's easy to put constraints on ourselves. One thing I like to do in every realm is all I need is if one person is doing something under certain circumstances, then I'm like, I can do it. I can figure it out.
Yeah, this is possible.
So a lot of times people do have a lot going on, and it's like doing even 1 day a week seems daunting. So for you, I know, like we talked about, you work and you got a decent commute, and then you have kids, and they are also extremely active in sports and stuff. And I know specifically softball, which anyone listening, how softball, baseball, I mean, all the sports now are on people's time.
Man.
And also, personally, you're a type 1 diabetic, which before my wife was diagnosed with that, wouldn't have meant much to me, but now I see firsthand the just constant, it's stranglehold, I mean, you
that-
take so much for
constant
granted. You
monitoring,
just
man.
eat, you just eat and move on. Whereas literally, you have to monitor this all the time.
You do.
So, mentally, it's like pressure. I would just imagine some pressure leaning into you at all times,
Yeah.
right? And yeah, I know I would probably crack from that and not be able to do nothing. So, so for me, knowing your consistency and how you are, and then knowing all these elements, it's impressive.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
I have 2 daughters. So Allison is almost 15 and Avery is 11, and both of them play travel softball. So what that means for our family is that they play tournament style softball. They usually have practice 2 to 3 times a week. And then weekends, usually they play year round. So in the fall, they will have probably 6 or 7 tournaments. And then starting in like March, April, then they play tournament style from March till July. Then they have a little break in August. But yeah, they have their times when they have practices and stuff like that. But I have a really supportive family. So my husband, we will coordinate like who picks up, when, so that I can go to the gym. So again, that's what we said. Like if it's a time where I need to pick them up or whatnot, then I will have to coordinate either coming in the morning or maybe you got to come on a Thursday or something like that. So we try to work that out. And also my mom lives here and she's super helpful, like picking them up or commuting them. So supportive family is also very
Big
key.
factor,
It's a huge factor. And I'm just fortunate that they know that this is like this is what I'm going to do. This is what I have to do to maintain health. And, I love it. I enjoy it. It's not something that I'm like, oh my God, I got to go to the, I have to go. I really enjoy it. It's just that time that's like just me, like my kids know, do not call mom when she's at the gym. She's not going to answer the phone. So please do.
I think that's good though. Like it's
But
good
they
to have a
know.
boundary because it is your time. And I think,
Right.
Yeah. And
a lot of times
prioritized
people don't prioritize their own time. And that doesn't allow them to be consistent and enjoy the time and all of that. So I'm glad that you do that.
Yeah, I tell them like, because I'm usually an afternoon, I'm 4:45. So
Yep.
4:45
She's there.
to 5:30, do not call me. You will not receive a response.
Yep.
If you call, I probably will not answer. So that's just my time. They know that, and I try to like really stick to that. And then health-wise, so I have other like, health conditions and whatnot. So I essentially got diabetes because I have cystic fibrosis. So that, for those people who don't really know, it's like a genetic disease, and it is a defect in one of the genes so that the chloride channel of your cells doesn't really work very well. And so if your cells can't exchange salt and sodium and chloride, then you build up like thick, sticky mucus. And so that can affect multiple different organ systems. So it can affect your lungs where you get like exacerbations. It can affect your pancreas. It can affect your intestines so you don't absorb nutrients and things very well.
And that's what happened to you, was it affected your pancreas?
Right, exactly. So it affects, for me, it really affects more like my lungs and my pancreas. So when I was younger and up into my early 20s, I was what they called pancreatic sufficient. So I produced
Making some
insulin and all that kind of stuff, and my body worked pretty much like everybody else's. But over time, with infections and other stuff, then it just did not work anymore. And so the treatment for that, because like you said, it's almost like type 1 diabetes, I had to take insulin. So I started taking insulin in my mid-20s, and that's what I still do now. So I have, of course, a little bit longer experience than your wife, but it can be very frustrating. I mean, there's times when you come and you work out really hard, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I need like candy, like I'm working out really hard and I'm getting low and stuff like that. So it can be definitely like a mental thing, or like, I ate this last week and this is what happened with my blood sugar, but then I ate it again this week and it didn't
Different.
follow the same pattern.
It's always
And
something
it
to
can,
chase
it
and worry
can
about.
chase, and you changes and stuff like that. So those can certainly be barriers. So I understand from the health perspective of, coming to the gym and wanting to change your lifestyle to impact your health and other things like that. So that's, a really important thing as well. So it can fluctuate at different times. Sometimes things are always on an even keel, and then there's other times, especially like for me, for like illnesses and stuff, can run high, and that can be like frustrating and things like that. So I've run the gamut with that.
Yeah. The body on a cellular level
Yes.
is so fascinating.
It's
There's
crazy,
so
man.
much, like, you think about that, and at all times, like, you know, things are exchanging in and out of cells and all that. That's why we talk about with weight fluctuations.
Yeah.
You know, and
There's so much
you
going
have to
on.
realize, like, it, you know, and I think a lot of times people will think of, like, you think of water weight or these fluctuations of water as like, because it makes the scale go up temporarily as a bad thing, but it's not. Like, you want that hydration, and it's
You need
moving.
the whole water.
Right,
Be moving
it's
into
critical.
your cells and your muscles and all this. And yeah, if you don't have those things going on, like in your circumstance, it leads to problems, right?
Yeah.
So, people, it's complicated. Don't try to understand it. That's why,
Just
kind of
do it.
like with your workouts, right? Yeah, the day to day could end up being messy on when you make it in or out of the gym, but then when you step back and look at the month,
Yeah.
you made it in, right? So same thing with weight loss and monitoring your body composition. You got to really look more at trends in the bigger picture and not get too emotional with like the day-to-day stuff. And it's cool to see like that from a macro view, and that's ultimately why you've been able to be successful, right? You
Yep.
do have a
Yeah.
lot of day-to-day craziness and factors, but then when you basically prioritize it, commit it to it, and you see where then you leverage even things like, I want to make this board, right? So
Yeah.
that took you maybe from consistently going from 10, which is great, to 12.
12, yeah.
And most days it could literally be as simple as like in your mind, you've almost gamified it, right? And
did.
Yeah,
I
and
made
it's
it like a
super beneficial.
competition.
Yeah.
yeah, and
did,
and
yeah.
it takes stuff like that, you know. And I mean, we do that a lot. I do that with my training. You know, I've been consistently working out for 18 years, so there's only so much you can do, right?
Right.
It's not going to be,
Nothing's going to drastically
but you know,
change.
tracking my exercises and trying to get 1 or 2 more reps here or there,
Yeah.
you know, that can kind of play little games with your brain to make it interesting, and you kind of have to find those little
Because
things.
that's what happens at a certain point. Like if you train long enough, you're only going to
Yeah.
improve so much,
Yeah.
you know. And then you have to take little small wins, and sometimes it's I just did that better
Yeah.
than I used to, or I got 1 more rep, and that's cool.
Yeah.
That's fine, and it's a healthy mindset to have.
Yep.
when
And
you've
it
done
does
this
make
for a
you feel
while.
like super successful. If you just get 1 more from the previous
Yeah.
week at the same weight,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah, and
Yeah.
and part of that too is your expectation. You know, if you're expecting like, I didn't go up 15 pounds. Well, that was kind of not a good expectation to have, but you got 1 more rep, 2 more reps, and that ends up working out
Yeah.
really well.
Let's talk about that. That's something we're always trying to overcome, and it's getting better. So for the most part in the fitness world, especially when you go back to like the 90s and before, resistance training, weight training was kind of seen as like just for like, you know, Arnold Schwarzenegger
Yeah,
and
for
and
bodybuilders.
that, you know,
Bulking up.
and
Yeah,
exit for bulking up, and ladies were supposed to like just do jazzercise
So they can tone.
to tone, right? So I don't want to bulk up, so I don't need to lift weights, right? And obviously a thing about our program is that you know, that's kind of the base of it, because as we age, we're actually learning, no, that's important. Otherwise, you're just losing this for decades and decades, and then you end up with no muscle,
And you're
no
frail and old.
weak bones, and
Yeah.
all those problems, right? So how about for you? Was that something you had to overcome, or were you pretty much just like, I'll do whatever? Or like, do you enjoy resistance training now that you kind of
I do.
understand it?
I do. I've done different things throughout my life as far as like exercise goes. So like my children, I played softball. I played in college. We did a lot of like strength training at that time.
Yep.
After I got out of college, I still did that a little bit. Then I had some friends that did a lot of cardio, like running. So I got into that. And that was just not my thing at all.
It's funny. It's either your thing or it's not.
Yeah.
It is not my thing. At all. I remember like they were like, we should sign up for this half marathon. I'm like, okay.
Are you sure?
Okay. The whole time I'm like, is there a pothole? Can I trip?
Yeah,
Can
you'd
I-
rather have a
just
sprained
twist-
ankle.
Can I just twist my ankle? I know we're at mile 3 and we
have
got like
8 weeks
10 to go.
8 weeks of
8
rehab
weeks of like, I
instead
can't
of-
do this anymore. But that, was just not. It wasn't my jam. I didn't
Yeah.
really like it. I did it, just because of friendship.
And you
let's
probably
just
committed to
talk
it a little bit.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
you commit to it, but that just wasn't my thing. So I just really enjoy the strength training. I like the little built-in cardio too. I don't mind doing some cardio.
Yeah. But you don't have to think about it.
I don't
yeah.
want to have to run 5 miles or something like
Yeah.
that. That's just not my thing. So I enjoy the strength training.
Cool.
It challenges me, but like you said, you kind of make it a game a little bit. I just want to lift a little bit more. I just want to do another rep or something like
Yeah.
that. So that is what I enjoy.
Yeah.
But not really long
Yeah,
long
going for a
sessions of cardio.
6-mile run.
Walking, I love a good walk.
Yep.
I have a dog. I love taking her for a walk, but not.
Yeah.
the-
Do you
full-
build walking in every day? Do you walk most days?
I try to walk every day. With the challenge that we recently did, that was my main focus because I don't always
Yeah.
do that.
If you know me, you know I'm always on the run, up early and home late, so having a 3-hour morning routine isn't really in the cards for me. What is in the cards is AG1. It's a fast way to get vitamins and minerals I need to perform. I first gave AG1 a try because I wanted a single solution that helps support my entire body by filling in nutrient gaps and simplifying my morning routine. Since drinking AG1 daily, I've always felt strong and energized and ready to attack the day. Not only does AG1 deliver my daily dose of vitamins, minerals, pre- and probiotics, and more, it's a powerful, healthy habit that's also powerfully simple. It's 1 scoop mixed in water once a day and every day. I know that AG1 is giving my body high-quality nutrition. Every batch of AG1 goes through a rigorous testing process, so you know that it's safe. And AG1 ingredients are sourced for absorption, potency, and nutrition density. AG1 is a supplement that I trust to provide the support my body needs daily, and that's why I'm excited to welcome them as a new partner. Here is your chance to start every day this season with a gift to yourself. Try AG1 and get a free 1-year supply of vitamin D3K2 and 5 free AG1 travel packs with your first purchase exclusively at drinkag1.com/provengrit. That's drinkag1.com/provengrit. Check it out. If you know me, you know I'm always on the run, up early and home late, so having a 3-hour morning routine isn't really in the cards for me. What is in the cards is AG1. It's a fast way to get vitamins and minerals I need to perform. I first gave AG1 a try because I wanted a single solution that helps support my entire body by filling in nutrient gaps and simplifying my morning routine. Since drinking AG1 daily, I've always felt strong and energized and ready to attack the day. Not only does AG1 deliver my daily dose of vitamins, minerals, pre- and probiotics, and more, it's a powerful, healthy habit that's also powerfully simple. It's 1 scoop mixed in water once a day and every day. I know that AG1 is giving my body high-quality nutrition. Every batch of AG1 goes through a rigorous testing process, so you know that it's safe. And AG1 ingredients are sourced for absorption, potency, and nutrition density. AG1 is a supplement that I trust to provide the support my body needs daily, and that's why I'm excited to welcome them as a new partner. Here is your chance to start every day this season with a gift to yourself. Try AG1 and get a free 1-year supply of vitamin D3K2 and 5 free AG1 travel packs with your first purchase exclusively at drinkag1.com/provengrit. That's drinkag1.com/provengrit. Check it out.
But I've gotten my coworkers now we're starting to walk, even if it's just for 20 minutes. We
Yes.
walk around the building
Cool.
2 times. So I was pretty consistent getting, because prior to that I would get maybe 4,000 to 6,000 steps a day, but I really tried to prioritize hitting 10,000.
Yeah.
Cool.
And that was pretty successful. Who knew if you cut the grass,
Yeah.
you can bang out some steps with that.
Yeah, it's
The
a lot.
grass.
Like,
You know what I
it's
realized? When I talk on the phone,
Walk.
I pace.
Yeah,
You don't think
how
about
many
it.
steps do you get on an average phone call?
Well, so,
Hey, 'cause an average phone call with him's an hour.
yeah, it's
so.
an hour. So if
I could tell it from some of the videos.
Yeah.
Too. He's
Yeah.
like, let me take this video of my backyard. I'm like,
Yeah.
I saw
And I
all
started
the
walking,
elements
I
of your
know.
backyard.
yeah, I don't even realize I do it. I'm just a pacer, I guess.
I do the same thing. So if I'm not outside, he'll call, and I probably walk up and down my hallway because we live in a townhouse, so it's literally our house is basically a hallway.
Yeah.
And so I'll walk up probably like 200 times on a phone call, just wearing
I'll look at my
path in that
steps the
floor.
next day, and normally, yeah, if I don't purposely go on walks, I can be between 2 and 5, and then when let me make sure I go on a walk or 2, then I can get that 6 to 8, and then normally try to be at 8. But then I'll look and I'm like, how did I get 15,000 steps yesterday?
And he called me and Diego. He's like, man, I had 2
And
really
I'm like,
long phone calls.
there it is. So that
Do
adds
you see
up.
like a spike on your graph,
Yeah.
and you're like, damn,
Yeah.
what was I doing in that 20 minutes?
So-
yeah, we're lucky. When
you're coaching?
Coaching, that's not a hard thing. Now, days that I don't coach, I have to try harder like that. Like I have to really, it'll be like 2:00, and I'm like, I only have 4,000 steps today. Whereas if I coach, I'll leave the gym with like 20,000 steps. Like it's not an issue. So yeah, when you have to purposefully like build it in, it is harder to throw into the routine.
Yeah.
But like you said, 20 minutes, 10 minutes.
I mean, we just outside, we know that 1 lap around the building will be half a mile. We can do that in about 10 minutes.
Oh, nice.
And then if we can, go a second one. But even if I get the 1 lap around for 10 minutes,
it's a half mile,
better
you
than
just walk.
it's better than nothing at all.
Yeah.
So,
And that's kind of the mindset, I think, that you have is something's always going to be better than nothing.
yeah, just do a little bit more. Just a little bit more than what you did the day before.
and
like,
that's why you've been
And
so successful
Yeah.
and consistent.
The cool thing is to see, we try to preach like the simple and on the surface, and like think about it. It could be so easy for you to go to work and go home, and you have tons of stuff to keep you occupied.
Yeah, there's plenty.
But then the difference of then you do that for 20 years,
Yeah.
30 years. And then the difference of now and like I had a little post today, hey, like resistance train 2 to 4 times a week, get 6,000+ steps, and focus on high satiety foods. And then you look like, and it's work, right? But then it becomes habit, and you choose to, it eventually becomes choice because it's worth it. But yeah, now look, you strength train 2 to 4 times a week. You make sure you get, at least 6,000+ steps. And then you compound, and you do that for the next 20 years. That version of you in 20 years that's done all those things over those 20 years, those simple, getting those steps, getting that strength training, there's so many benefits, and it's exciting to see because that's what motivates us to do it.
Yeah.
And then to see like, no, this is it, right? And people are doing it, and then you're excited and you choose it, and it's part of your life, right? And then you couldn't imagine not doing it.
Right. Like these are just the things that I can control. You know what I mean? Like for some people, like your health isn't something that is, for some people, the health conditions you have, there are things you can do to control them. For me, they're going to take their own course.
Yeah, kind of at the whim of what's going on
exactly.
in some ways.
So if I can work out, if I can build my endurance and strengthen like my lungs or other things like that, then I just feel like that is what's making the difference for me. So that's my why. Yeah. That's why I do that.
Yeah.
So
in
that
a way,
I can be healthier.
Having some of those conditions that you really had no control over, do you think in a way were helpful in the sense that they did give you that mindset of like, you know what, how can I deal with this? I can't control this. What can I control?
Right.
And then you take that more seriously.
Because at the clinic where I go to, I know one of my doctors one time said that somebody was trying to cure themselves with exercise. And I was like, I never really thought about it like that. But I get it. Like, I get what they're mentally doing. They're just trying to strengthen their body so that they can live a longer life. And like that's
give it the
like,
best chance that it
that's
has.
what I can do. What I can do is, statistically speaking, for somebody who has cystic fibrosis, your lung function will decline 2% every year.
Yeah. So.
And for me, I get probably attributing to workout and stuff like that, I have been steady for probably at the same number for probably the last 10 years.
Yep.
So
great.
that's what motivates me to come. Like, I want to be as healthy as I can.
Yeah.
I want to be able to push myself. But I also, I think a couple podcasts ago, you guys were talking about, would you be happy if you could only do what you do now for the next 10 years or for the rest of your life? And yeah, I would. Like, that would be awesome for me. Like, I mean, I'm sure I could push myself to do more, and that's cool, but I'm happy where I'm at. I feel like I've gained a lot of strength in the 4 years that I've come.
Oh,
I remember, like, what I was at the time and what I am now, and that I've seen strengths in myself, and that makes me happy, and I'd be happy to just be able to do that forever. If my health can stay the same, that's cool for
Yeah.
me. You know, it's
Yeah.
just being able to come, and even if at some point it becomes 2 times a week, if you can just do the same thing and maintain, that's awesome.
Yeah, because I mean, when you do it long enough, that's kind of what it turns into. You know, you'll see little improvements here and there, but you're not going to see that jump that you did in your first 2 years of working out.
Yeah.
It doesn't work that way. Right. So it's just being able to, you know, sometimes, especially as we get into our 50s and 60s and 70s, just maintaining as best we can is the victory.
Yeah. And even in a general sense, like you talked about, that's really what's happening is there's going to be a decline physically, right?
Oh,
and
yeah.
you want it, if you can make it as small as possible, that's the true...
that's the win.
That's what you're doing. So, and the reality is, I was chatting with someone that I met at the thing recently, and you eventually realize that some stuff becomes more risky, right? When you get to your 60s and 70s, now like falling can become a risk, right? Because then if you fall and break your hip and have to have surgery, now you have to survive the surgery, right? And then so should you be doing, you know, a bunch of box jumps and like obstacle course racing, you know, in your 60s, you know, and so, you know, some people that may be their thing and they never want to give it up, which is great, but you have to kind of, you know, you're going to make different decisions from when you're 25 or 65, right? So
Always.
At some point it's helpful to kind of like accept that, you know,
Yeah.
and then, hey, what can I do? And then push that to your limit, and then make sure that you're not doing anything to leave yourself worse off. So, and then the sad thing is, and what hopefully most people realize is like doing nothing. That's the thing too. Like you don't want to. The answer is not, well, I won't take any risk, you know. So because doing nothing, you end up in a worse place.
Yeah.
So,
you gotta do something.
Yeah.
it's
And that's
a
why
balancing.
Yeah.
I mean, what can you do? And let's just try to push that, because I'm sure, you know, 60 years old, you might not be dragging a sled, right? So there's something else that you can do that's beneficial
Air
for
bike.
you.
Yeah. Which nobody wants to do.
She's like, let's find a way to get out of the air bike.
Yeah. I'm more of a ski erg kind of girl. I need to get out of the ski erg.
Well, that's what's
Can we
great
just
about
row? I'm a rower.
Everybody loves the rower.
Yeah.
Everybody.
I love a rower.
Yeah.
There's like 2 people that love the air bike.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This
No.
bunch of sickos.
And that's what's great about resistance training is it's super scalable. It's
Yes.
something you can always do. The injury rates are very, very, very low unless your ego gets in the way. And that's something people can do. And you can purposely go through all your ranges of motion and everything like that. So and then like you just mentioned, then and this is kind of how we coach and program at the gym. We try to do lower impact stuff because tons of jumping, tons of running can, its impact on your knees and joints. So
and then consider, are there a lot of people that are at a point they don't need to be doing that?
Yeah.
And, it's a good ability to have, 20s, 30s, whatever. But if you got, broken down knees and you got a back problem, well, doing a whole workout full of jumping is not going to serve that person.
But then you want to get your rocks off and get your heart rate, to its peak. Well, you can hop on the air bike or
a rower.
The rower and push it, and not much can go wrong, really.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, they're overall pretty foolproof, which is why I like them. And that, like, you don't have to worry so much about somebody doing it.
Yeah, and that's our job with clients, right? We want
Right.
you to be coming, and if you get hurt and can't do anything, well, now all the stuff we're just talking about goes kaput, right?
Yep.
So that's where it's like weighing pros and cons of certain exercises. So, which,
I think the coaches are really good at, if you can't do something, they modify it for you so that you can be able to do something. Because I have had to work through an injury. I had a pinched nerve in my neck. And so that limited what I could be lifting, like overhead or even like lateral movements. But there were other things that were recommended, and I just tried to do those.
Yeah.
And then and that also is like a mind thing to get over, like that hurdle of like, okay,
let me do nothing instead.
The fact of like, okay, well, I used to be able to dumbbell bench press this, and then I had this injury and I wasn't able to do that, and so it goes down significantly. It goes down really fast. Like for the amount of time that it takes you to build up, it is like it just falls off the cliff.
It's not fair.
It only takes like 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I noticed that when I had done that before, that I used to be able to like dumbbell bench 35, 40. And then I was starting back at like 20, 25. And it's like, man, like really? But I mean, it comes back.
It does.
It comes back slowly, but it comes back, and you guys help modify the things that we can do so that it's not just I'm not going to come at all. Like I'm going to come because that's my routine. That's what I like.
Yep.
But we can modify that to what you can do for
so
the
we can
time
still make some
being.
progress.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the game.
What is your favorite exercise at the gym?
Probably dumbbell bench
I
press.
already knew. I already knew, man.
Did you go to the Christmas party?
No.
No. So at the Christmas party, we played. We had everyone vote, and we did like stuff like that, and that was the winner by far.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, I could have told you that was
What's
the
your
winner,
least,
Really?
man.
What's your least favorite?
Least favorite.
I have two in my head. It's gonna be one of them.
Okay. I would probably say the I don't know, the hip thrust when you put the bar over.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh,
Is
wait,
that
is
just
that-
because it's uncomfortable?
Yeah, it's uncomfortable, and I
Yeah.
can never position
Yeah.
the thing the right way.
That's like the worst part about those is like there's still a weight just crushing your hips and
Yeah.
everything down
I
there.
wish we had
bro.
more space
to get hip thrust machines.
and we could get
Oh my God.
hip thrust machines.
There's so much more
They're so much more comfortable,
Oh,
but
is
then
it?
but that's all
Okay.
they do, right? So
So
like
it's limited.
logistically, it's like you have these four things that
Yeah.
can only
Only
be
do
done
one
for one
thing.
thing,
They
and
usually
you can't move them.
there's a belt, so you have
Yeah.
a belt that's like this wide that goes across your hips.
Mm-hmm.
That's way more comfortable
Yeah.
to load. Now at a certain point, like you're doing like 400 or 500 pounds,
It's still-
there's still 400 or
Yeah.
500 pounds
Sounds-
pressing on your
Yeah.
hips, but it's way more comfortable than a bar with a pad.
Yeah.
So yeah,
So I would have said that. What would you have said? What were
I thought
thinking?
I thought you were gonna say split squats.
Yeah, those are challenging, but then sometimes, like I said, if you make it a competition, so like
Yeah.
I push myself,
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I did the blue dumbbell last week, or the kettlebell last week. Can I do the yellow this week, or something like that? But they're challenging.
They are.
They're definitely challenging.
And they usually don't
for sure.
feel that good when you do
No.
them. Like they are, systemically they're really rough. So
I would say the other one, now I think, is when you it's like the skater squat, when you go down to the yoga block, because I can't ever focus, and so I'm always like wobbly.
no, I mean, those are
Yeah.
those are a lot like even more challenging than I think people realize, because you literally are on one foot and you're having to, because on a split squat you have a foot in the back and that
Right, your
that
balanced
gives
a
you
little better.
that gives you balance. But on this, it's truly like, hey, I got one leg that needs to perform, and it's a very advanced move. So
Yeah.
it's very 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 challenging, and it takes a lot of focus and
So you
it's
spend half the time. You only have 7 minutes in your station.
Trying to
You spend about
balance.
3.5 trying to balance
Exactly.
and look wobbly all over the place.
Yeah, they're tough. So one thing, and I want to know if this is how you've always been, but you're like a big goal setter.
I am a goal setter, yes.
Like, have you always been?
Yes.
So from when you were younger,
Yes.
you always like. So what? Do you set like yearly goals?
Yes.
Do you go like yearly, monthly, weekly? Do you break it down, or is it more
no,
I have this overarching goal and this is what it takes to get there?
Sometimes I remember being like a little kid and setting goals like that, like just.
Damn.
Well,
I didn't
like,
set goals till I was like 29.
She was listening to Tony Robbins on cassette.
my dad helped me do that. He was like, I think he was a very goal-driven person.
Yeah.
So I remember being like high school age and getting all A's or something. They were like, age appropriate,
Yeah.
stuff like that. But
make 100K this year.
yeah,
Make 100K.
and bench press this
Yeah.
and
There
be
we go.
120 pounds. Yeah. So then as I just kind of got older, then I kind of kept that mindset and like would do that throughout like college or, things like that.
Okay.
So when I don't know, different times I do try to do different things. So career, sometimes I'll have like a career one that
Yeah,
I
I remember
really
you telling me about
wanted
that.
to do that.
Is your husband like that, or are y'all like different, opposites?
I would say that he is, but I would say it's more
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
I'm usually the one who's like, I want to accomplish this or I want to accomplish that. And I just kind of like set like yearly ones, but then maybe like smaller ones. So like last year, one of my, like a professional goal, because I'm a pharmacist and I work in a hospital, so it was to get board certified in critical care, which is like a big test that you can take and you just get certification in other areas. So they could just be general areas. It could be like oncology. It could be other stuff. My passion's critical care, so I studied and passed that test.
Yeah.
It was like a year process for that. So sometimes they're not always like quick, instant gratification goals.
Yeah.
Sometimes they're like longer term goals. And then like gym goals were more like the 12 times a month every month. It was like dumbbell bench 40 and trap bar deadlift 200, like little things like that. So then building upon those, it was kind of the same thing for this year, but like increased weights or other things like that. So that's kind of just me. That's always been my mindset to develop like goals. And sometimes I don't always know. Sometimes it takes time for those to come to fruition. Like, what do I really want to work on? What am I really feeling like passionate about at the time?
Yeah.
But yeah, I kind of always been like that.
Yeah, it's interesting to see, and you realize, and I'll read a lot of this stuff with habit formation, all that. Like, really, a lot of things that make you successful are like people dwell on like, all the obvious stuff, right? Like, I need to be good at. It's really like, no, you need to have a growth mindset. You need to plan. You need to set goals. And I talk about a lot of that stuff in my, emails and everything. But then when you really see, like, as we dig deeper with you, you see like those are the kind of cornerstones to your success, right? And it's all mental. It's all mental. Like anyone can do that.
Definitely.
So it's having that. One thing I'm curious about, what college did you go to?
I went to Radford University.
Radford, and then in what position did you play in softball?
I was second base and catcher.
Catcher.
Yeah.
Woo!
I know. I couldn't get my girls. I couldn't convince them. One couldn't handle the being hot.
Yeah.
And the other one gets hurt too much.
Being catcher's like rough.
Yeah.
I remember when I was younger, like I briefly tried catcher, and I was like, man, this blows.
Yeah.
Like, I'd rather play shortstop, man. Catcher's not for me.
I just always wanted to be like in action. I wanted a part of it like every time. So I mean,
It's a perfect spot.
yeah. So I loved it. I can't say that I didn't have a few broken fingers or a few,
Whatever.
injuries here and there.
You still have your
whatever.
fingers.
I
You're
got
good.
them. Yeah, I got
They
them.
work,
Yeah,
right?
They work. Yeah, they're good.
And the one's not like bent sideways.
Yeah, you got that sideways finger.
Yeah,
Oh,
I don't have the
God.
sideways finger, but yeah. So those were the main ones that I played. So I just enjoyed those, always being in action. So I went to Radford University and then spent 4 years there, and then I went to pharmacy school in Richmond at MCV. So
Dang. How long's pharmacy school?
it was 4 years.
4 years. Okay, that's what I expected.
Yeah.
So that's it. So then with 4 years of your undergrad at Radford, 8 years.
4 years there, so 8 years, and
I
then
did 8 years there.
Were you like
8
a
total.
straight A student in high school? and stuff?
No. So in high school, I did very well. I'd get like A's. I had, of course, like a few B's. But then college came, and that was more like, woohoo, free time. And so
freedom.
Yeah.
freedom.
Especially out in Radford.
Yeah, Radford. Woo, boy.
What?
That's not a party school.
Not at all.
No, yeah.
It was 4 fun years.
Yeah.
Good.
But so there, I mean, I did well. I'm not going to say. I mean, calculus threw me for a little bit there, so I got some
Freaking
C's
calc,
in that.
man.
I know, right? I'm like, why do I need 3 years of calculus? What?
Calculus, I took in high school, and I regret it. I think I got tricked into taking it, and I got a D.
Oof.
And like I've always been a straight A student, and I got a D in that class. And I think it's like I would have failed.
Yeah.
But my teacher,
Oh, yeah.
I think he just really liked me, and he was like, I'm just not gonna fail this kid. And so I got a D in that class. That was rough.
See, the nice thing about college is that once you get like going a little bit, and then you feel like, oof, this is not working out. You just be like, oh, I need to drop this class.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna drop
Yeah.
because my parents are going to kill me when they see the grade that's about ready to come
I
out.
had a couple of those,
So-
and I should have dropped them, and I didn't. But
Yeah, so I had to do that a couple times. So no, I wasn't like straight A's or anything like in college. And the same thing with like pharmacy school. I was just an average student. I made it through, but I wasn't like
that's really all you need to do.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like now, look at you got a great job. You're
Yeah.
killing it.
Yeah.
Like
I even read a thing recently where a lot of these big companies, they actually prefer the students that aren't straight A students.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times those kids end up like they're just really good at being students and they get really attached and like that's their goal. But then they struggle with some of the social stuff and all that. Whereas they specifically the article was talking about they look for people who get like A's in whatever they're really interested in, and then they can maintain the others, B's or C's, because that's kind of actually how the real world works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is.
You need to kind of prioritize, and then those students would translate better to the jobs. And
to a
everything.
work environment.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
So-
Yeah, because not everything is you're going to be good at everything
Yeah.
within.
Yeah.
There are certainly, even within like pharmacy, I mean, that's what I do, but there are certain areas that I need a little bit more practice in. I don't do them all the time. I can with a little bit of reading and stuff like that, but that's not my passion, so I would need a little bit of extra time on that kind of stuff. Where some of my colleagues, their passion is not my passion. They're good at that. So it just, I wasn't like a straight A student there, but I knew what I liked and did well in those things, but enough, like you said, in the other areas that I was able to like maintain good
That's how we
grades.
have it at the gym. I mean, if you think about like all of us do have a little bit of a specialization in that, like, Diego and Julia, they do all of our nutrition coaching. Ben is kind of the movement master. And not that any of us have a detriment in these areas, but like one person is going to be a little bit better at it than the others, and I think that like it rounds out the whole team really well, because you can't be good at everything. There's just no way to be a master of everything, because you're basically a jack of all trades, master of none.
Right.
I would rather have a team that's good at their own respective things that round it out. So
And just knowing the resources, like, okay, you really want to focus on nutrition, cool, no problem. Diego and Julia, they got you. That's
exactly.
That's
this
what
is where to go.
Right.
And I think with any profession, I'm sure with you, like if you have an area where you need to consult somebody, who that person is, and they can help you out and make sure that you have the information you
I do.
need.
Yeah.
I definitely call on colleagues all day, like, okay, help me out with this. Like, this is what's happening. Help me out with this, because this isn't my strong suit. But then they'll know, like, okay, well, I'm going to call you for X, Y, and Z.
Yeah,
So
it's just how it should be.
Yeah.
Well, so and one last thing I'm interested in is, do you ever get stuck in the James River Bridge opening? Is that?
Oh my gosh, yes.
Do they? Is it the same time every day, or does it just change?
It just changes.
Based
Just,
probably when
there's
it's
just some guy
It
that's
just
just like,
changes.
you know what? Let's
Yeah.
just do it at 7 today.
No.
He's just
Yeah.
whatever
So
he's
sometimes
feeling.
I know, like, not too long ago, there was one, and I'm like, okay, I got to get to the gym. I'm going to get there at, like, for whichever class is it. It's 6 o'clock class. I got to get here for that class. I'm going to get up, and I'm going to leave my house this early. And then I get to the bridge, and I'm like, seriously? You've got to be freaking kidding me. You have got to be freaking kidding me. I'm like, okay, so I sit there, because it never is like, the lift is never 5 minutes, okay?
No.
It is never just a hurry up, get
Yeah.
your sailboat through, and no, not
Nope.
at all. So I'm like, the time's ticking away, and I'm like, I'm getting really angry. I'm getting real angry. Now I'm going to have to go to the
It's-
6:45
Yep.
class, and I'm going to have 15 minutes to get ready for work.
Yeah.
There goes
It's gonna
the
be
day.
it's gonna be one of those days. All right, but I made it into the gym. I was happy with that. But yeah, sometimes on the dime you gotta flip, and you're like, yeah, the James River Bridge.
Oh, my God.
And it doesn't even matter. Sometimes I've come home in the evening too, and you're like, seriously, it's 6:30 in the evening. Now
Yeah.
there's another lift. What could? And then you look, and it like is this dinky little boat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're like, did you need to lift that thing up?
Someone's paddling.
Yeah, they're just rowing.
It's a canoe, a
Oh,
kayak.
God.
Like on an inner tube.
Yeah.
Just, like,
That's-
yeah, so I definitely, yes, the James River Bridge.
What a pain.
It is a pain. And I'm going to need more scheduled times. Like, can you just make this a scheduled
Yeah,
time
can
so
you
that I know?
can you make a spreadsheet for me
Yeah.
so I can work around this? There was the little bridge going into Great Bridge back when I used to train out
Yes.
at your gym, and dude, the worst times. Like I would be like 15 minutes early for a client, and I got to sit at that stupid bridge for a boat to go through, and it's like I'm gonna be freaking late. And it just the most inconvenient times those things would go up, and
Yeah.
I just
Yeah.
never.
Yeah. I would have to go through the M&M tunnel, Fritz Tunnel, and then the little Great Bridge.
Yeah.
And some days you end up hitting both.
You hit both. Oh God.
And you're just like,
What are you
It's
gonna
be one
do?
of those days.
Yeah.
It's going to be one of those days.
Just try not to
and you know what's
rage.
funny? I did that for 4 years, and then I had went to ODU for like 4 years, and so HRBT, and I spent so much time in a car. I was like, that's why eventually I sold those gyms and then did Coastal and lived right next to it. And now it's funny because I have so little drive time now,
Oh yeah.
and I had to go somewhere to the day where I had to drive. And I was like, I miss driving, right? Like, I was like, I need to, just go drive around.
I gotta go get my time
So,
in.
yeah, so it's a perfect example of like how too much or not enough. Like
it's funny, man. Like I did the Virginia Beach to Newport News commute for what was it? Probably
at
3
least
years.
2 or 3 years.
It was about 3 years that I did it to the gym, which like I'm lucky I had a job that I really loved because that commute was just not fun. But now, like, I could drive an hour away, and it's literally, like, I don't even care. Nothing to me. Like, it's not even a thought that, like, oh, this is such a long drive.
Mm-hmm.
After doing that for so long, like, I'll drive anywhere. An hour is literally just, like we'll go get coffee an hour away.
Yeah.
And it doesn't even faze me. Whereas some people are like, oh, I got to drive 25 minutes to this place. I'm like, man.
But,
They must not have long commutes.
Exactly. You must, you must be
Yeah.
like, Gary, you got to drive 2 minutes to
2
work.
minutes.
Yeah.
So,
I
yeah.
do get stuck. I do get stuck at
Yeah.
the bridge,
And,
yes.
and she still makes it.
And I still try to make
Yeah.
it.
Well, I used to, you would look and I would see the M&M was backed up, so I would try to go to the James River, and then that would be backed up, and that one was always worse if it
Yep.
was. So, but that's part of living in the area. When I was out in Los Angeles for 2 years,
And you walked everywhere?
Well, I walked everywhere, and people would always talk about traffic, in LA. But and we got stuck in some traffic and had to do stuff. But I still stand on the Hampton Roads traffic is worse because we have all the tunnels and bridges and stuff, and out there is more just like volume. There's so much volume.
Yeah, so many people.
But you're kind of moving. It's just same. You have to. It takes 40 minutes to go 7 miles, but like here it's almost worse because you could be smooth sailing.
Yeah.
And then,
And
boom.
then another day you could be where like you'd stop not moving
Yep.
for an hour and a half. So
Yeah.
And it backs up so much. So if there's like a accident in the tunnel or there's a lift or something like that, the traffic just compounds itself.
Oh, it just stacks.
It just stacks. And
Yeah.
then you're just sitting there, and then the time's ticking by, and you're like, okay, I'm going to be this minute. Okay, should I even go to work today?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm going to be like 2 hours
we
late.
had one of the dudes at the gym. He was going to play golf in Virginia Beach on Saturday. Great day. He was like, man, I'm going to go. Tee times at like 8 o'clock.
he didn't, that OBX traffic,
He-
man.
So he hit the tunnel. Tunnel was completely blocked, and he was like, I'm like, there's no way I'm going to make this. And so he came and worked out instead.
Yeah.
Which, like, SmackDown versus golf are two completely different things. But, like, hey, he got it in, and I respect it. So, yeah, that's a hard choice to make,
Yeah.
man.
Hampton Roads traffic's no joke, man.
It's not.
So yeah, Lindsay, we appreciate you coming on.
Yeah,
You're welcome.
it was fun.
Sharing some insights and your stories. Now you're probably gonna feel a lot of pressure, right?
I know. Yeah.
Now she's gonna be like, I gotta come.
Now you gotta come to 12.
I can't not ever not come 12, right? The whole world is gonna be.
You know what?
Yeah.
I'm not worried about her. She'll be
Every
all right.
podcast we should do an update.
Yeah.
No pressure. No pressure.
This is where she's at, and like a scoreboard.
Yeah,
And it's like,
a
oh my
little
god,
tracker.
she's 4 workouts behind, and there's only 3 days left in the week.
Is she gonna make it?
Yeah.
Stay tuned.
Can you play the Rocky music, though, while you're doing it?
Yeah.
You know
I
what?
get
You
her.
could probably start a little YouTube channel too with the dash cam, and
Yeah.
people be like, "Look, she's stuck in traffic.
She's stuck in the JR.
Oh my
She's
gosh,
gonna
there's
make
only
it.
1 class left today." That's kind of where we're at though with the world. Like,
It is.
Have you seen that show, Jury Duty?
Okay, so I saw it pop up and I saw it recommended, but I haven't watched it yet.
Yeah. So we watched it. You have to know what it's about though. So
Okay.
it is jury duty. So it's like a court case.
Naturally.
And everyone is almost too themed in like the style of The Office.
Well, it's the same
Okay.
people that did Parks and Rec.
Yeah, but here's the
That's all.
thing: everyone's an actor, except for one person.
On the jury?
He thinks it's real. But everyone's an actor. The court case, they're all actors, and they didn't expect it to be successful, but they think it is because think about it now. You can pull up TikTok or whatever, and you just can watch someone doing something mundane, right? Like sitting in traffic, and
Yeah.
or they get, and so then you know that all these actors are basically, it's a high wire act. Like, it's like, don't blow it. They're all basically, in a way, ad-libbing.
Yeah.
And I think when you know that and you're watching,
It makes it even
it's a
more
different
like.
edge. And the thing that stinks is, I don't know, they can't do a second season. Like,
Yeah.
And the way they did it was they basically said, hey, they put out an ad for, we're going to do a documentary on the legal system and how this works. And they got 1,500 applications, right? And then they kind of picked this dude out. But he thinks that, they're all just there on
Doing jury
on a
duty.
real life jury
Jury
duty
duty.
documentary. So that's why, the camera, but they're all actors. And
Why are-
it's fascinating.
crazy.
They're all
Now I really
they're
wanna
all
watch it.
improv actors that you never know, except then one of them is
I saw one
James
guy.
Marston. Marstead. He
And
was,
I think he recognized him.
well, and he is himself in the show,
Oh, okay.
but he plays a super entitled version of himself, which he said was hard because he was basically easy to hate. He was
Yeah.
kind of like an entitled Hollywood actor, but it was wild. It was and you just watch this guy's face. It was crazy.
God, now I'm gonna watch.
Yeah,
this
we
tonight.
plowed through it in like
Yeah.
2-3 days.
Okay, yeah, I'm gonna do it.
But then the thing too in the James Marsden, they didn't want it to be like a joke on this guy, to like an embarrassing thing.
Yeah, it wasn't like a prank on him.
Yeah, they actually literally had stuff staged too to kind of make him become like a hero of sorts. So like somehow he would get appointed in kind of like leadership roles and like crazy things would happen, and to where and see how he handled it, and yeah.
Did they do like an exit interview with him to figure out how?
Oh, they have a whole episode.
Like at the end,
Oh.
was he like
Okay,
really?
good.
Was
Oh,
he
yeah.
mad? Was he like?
Yeah, that's what I got nervous when I knew it
Yeah,
was
is
about
this
to
dude
end.
gonna flip? Like, is he gonna go crazy?
Right.
And
Now I'm
yeah,
intrigued to watch
the whole
now.
last episode is them, and then but the thing is he didn't, which you can imagine how it warped his brain is. And I read a thing even afterwards. He struggled with paranoia a little bit.
Really?
I mean,
'Cause
yeah.
he thought maybe like it's still not over and stuff. And then
It's
he
like
didn't,
the Truman Show, man.
Yeah.
That's
and just
wild.
he didn't real. Everyone was an actor, right? So like the court cop lady. He's like, you got actor, right? When they went to a restaurant.
Yeah, you got trust issues the rest of your life.
Yeah, when they went to
Like,
a
is this
restaurant.
another thing? Am I on a show
Trauma.
again?
Yeah, and that's where he said he was like 2 weeks later, like one random person during that event, because it was 3 weeks. They sequestered the jury for 3 weeks. So they were in a hotel without their phones and like going out to restaurants, but they would everything would be staged. So he would be like, "Oh, was that person an actor? Was that?" And like
That's got to really
That's-
mess with you,
yeah,
though. Like, you need to
definitely.
see a therapist.
That's what I was
after
thinking
that.
too. Do you have like PTSD?
Yeah.
From like I was on this show.
I know, it's interesting. Yeah.
I know those other 1,499 people that submitted their application are like,
Yeah, I
Yeah.
dodged a freaking
crisis
bullet.
averted.
Yeah. When you get introduced to the guy and see how he is, though, you'll know why like they picked him. It was obvious because he was like the perfect blend of he was nice, he was smart, he was a little bit naive. Yeah. So check it out.
Good, because I don't have a show to watch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was on like we found it on Amazon and it was on like Freevee or
Yeah,
something
it's like
that.
their free with ads
So-
type channel.
Yeah. But it's
Never
a high wire act because you're like how and
I
it's
don't know if
just
Whitney's
impressive.
gonna be able to handle it.
Yeah, she's gonna have it super
You
exciting.
know her in stressful TV,
Yeah.
man. She can't handle it.
So
I live for it.
all right, so check that out, and
Yep.
we'll see if we can get you a coastal reality show.
There we
all
go.
right,
Get a little,
Sign me up.
get a little dash
Sign me up.
cam, get
Yeah.
everybody
Yeah.
sweating.
right? I'm sure my life will intrigue them.
Well,
How many times a week
yeah.
does she stop at Food Line?
All right,
You might be surprised, but
cool. Well, if you want, give us feedback. Let us know. Any questions too? We'll have some more guests lined up, and
more members, more coaches. It'll be good.
So let us know. Let us know if you're a gym member. Let us know who you want to hear.
Yeah.
Everyone probably wants Debbie on.
Yeah.
That'd be a good one.
Debbie Tron.
Debbie Tron. So we appreciate you for listening.
Yep. We'll see you next time. As always, thanks for listening, guys. If you want to learn more, check us out at coastalfitnessva.com or GaryDeagle.com. We'll see you next time.